everyone. Welcome back to JP's Budget Collecting and our fourth One Piece discussion in 3 days. We're talking episodes 7 and 8, the finale of season 1 of the live action One Piece here in just a minute. I'm giving my thoughts. Second one of the day. Hey, Bob Jungle, what's going on? GTK was in here tailgating earlier. Always appreciated my friend. So yeah, we're going to talk the final 2 episodes. So let's put our little up here. We're going to be wrong. The banners are on a different tab. Where's the one? There's the one I want. So there will be spoilers for the finale, the final 2 episodes. I did go on and finish the series out today. Little caveat for anybody joining me, because this is different content than normal. I'm a huge One Piece fan. I've been reading and watching since 2006, 2007. Let's give a few overarching thoughts first, then we'll dig into these final 2 episodes. I was cautiously optimistic going into the live action. Live action anime adaptations and manga adaptations are historically bad. Just in general, they generally are not very good. But the trailers and stuff left me cautiously optimistic, and I would say I was overall pretty pleased with where this ended up. I'll give a final rating at the end of the series in these 2 episodes. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised at how good it was. Maybe I'm completely biased. I'm super curious to see what some people who aren't One Piece fans think of the show. But I think it works overall extremely well. So a little spoiler for the end of this. So the final 2 episodes, we get the girl with the sawfish tattoo, and now I'm blanking on what the final title of the final episodes is. I'm gonna have to look it up. Gosh dang it, the final. It's not episode title. There we go. All the episode titles. What were the last 2 episodes? Yeah. Romance Dawn, The Man with the Straw Hat, blah, blah, blah. Tales. Gotta get to the bottom here. Perfect. Yay. Girl with the Sawfish Tattoo, and then the finale was Worst in the East. Okay. I had to think about it. So let's talk about episode 7 and get a couple things out of the way. We're going to get them right out of the way. Obviously, the only people we really meet here are Nami's village. We get to meet Nojiko for the first time. We get to meet Gen-san. We get nobody else is really named in the village, but that's, other than the doctor, that's pretty much the way it is in the manga too. We get to meet the little Nizumi, who's the marine guy with the mouse ears, which I don't know what they were going for there. Like the evil marine guy that's been bribed by Arlong. Like they gave me the whiskers, which is fine, and Kenneth Bird, which is fine. But then like they put obviously very fake, weird ears on his hoodie. I don't know what they were trying to accomplish. I know the guy kind of looks like a rat, looks like a mouse in the manga. I didn't dig that volume down. But it's just so ridiculous. You can't really take him serious. Because all the other Marines with him are just like regular dudes. And then there's this weird guy with mouse ears on his. I don't know if they're supposed to be part of his head. And those or what. It's a little ridiculous. But we get the whole sequence where Nami returns to the village. The boys follow her to the village. It was an interesting twist having Buggy in their possession as their guide, but it made sense. They had to find a way for them to find their way there. AGTG is back. And so that worked. Them packing around, they gave some funny moments, a little lighthearted moments, and Sanji having to pack around Buggy's head as the new guy. For the most part, so before I dig into this too far, for the most part, I actually enjoyed and was on board with all of the story changes they made to make it fit for live action. Actually, none of them really bothered me in any of the first 6 episodes. And even in the finale, which we'll get to in a minute with the Garp stuff, none of that really bothered me all that much. I was fine with most of it. I mean, it's live action. They're telling like 80 some odd issues of the manga in 8 episodes. They're telling like 40 or 50 episodes of the anime in 8 episodes. Like, they had a lot of ground to cover, so they had to make choices. I get that. My love for One Piece started with Arlong Park and Nami's backstory and Help Me. To me, Help Me is still one of my like 5 favorite moments in the entire series. Like, it gets me every time. So I don't understand the choices they made with Help Me. Now, I will say, the actual moment itself, Emily Rudd pulls it in, gosh dang it, I just looked up his name a while ago. I cannot remember his name. Kid playing Luffy. Both do an excellent job in the moment with what they're given. Like that moment is really well done. Inaki. I can just. It doesn't. I think they've done a fantastic job. I mean, it's moving. It's moving super fast. For if you're a manga anime watcher or a manga reader, it's moving super fast. But I don't feel like that's why I'm like, that was my point, is I've agreed with all the changes they've made in order to make that work. I think they've done a fantastic job making it work and pacing it well. My problem with the one choice here is there's 2 things they do differently in this than they do in the manga and the anime. So this is full spoilers here for that moment. So if you haven't seen that moment, you haven't read that moment before, it's less effective to me in the live action than it is in either of the other 2 for 2 reasons. 1, the villagers didn't know. If you've read the manga or the anime, the villagers have known what Nami was doing and have pretended not to so that she wouldn't feel trapped into doing it. So if she ever decided she couldn't do it anymore, she wouldn't feel like she was letting them down. So they've known all along. Nojiko knows, and Nami knows Nojiko knows. Nami doesn't know, the rest of the villagers know. So they isolate her, even if they had just done it where Nojiko knew and the rest of the villagers didn't. I think it's a more effective moment here at the end. But I could live with that. I could live with the decision not to have them know, not to even not have Nojiko know. But part of Nojiko's whole thing is she got the tattoos in support of Nami, who was forced to have a tattoo. Like, Nami hates that tattoo. Oh, has always hated that tattoo. That's why Nojiko's tattoos have meaning, and it's because they're moral support for it's her way to silently support Nami, and that's all wiped away by this decision. And I don't know that it matters. It only would have added almost nothing to the story. Like, nothing. It would have changed timing, nothing. The other thing is, when Nami finally breaks down and asks for help, is Arlong had sent the Navy to steal her money back, so she can't buy the village. She confronts him, and he basically like laughs in her face and is like, "Yeah, well, you just got to keep working for me," But she goes back. She's desperate to protect everyone. He doesn't attack the village. That was weird. He attacked the village again, burned it down, but then all the villagers were fine. It was very weird. that moment, why he attacked the village in that moment in the live action. He doesn't attack the village. He's basically like, but if you leave, I'll kill everybody. So he's holding all of their, he's using their lives to trap her. So when she goes back to the village, she's like, okay, everyone, it's okay. I'll raise the money again and everything else. And they're like, no, we're not going to let you suffer through this again. We're going to fight. And they go to fight. And in that moment, it's not the loss of the money. It's the loss of the money. Plus she confronted him and realized that he's never really going to let her go, despite whatever he says. But if she leaves, he's going to kill everyone. And then she goes back to try to like still protect them. And they tell her it's enough. And they're going to go basically sacrifice. They're going to go fight to the death rather than have her continue to have to deal with this, to continue to be trapped. So she's like, they all run off to confront him. And everyone she loves and knows. And Luffy walks up, and in the manga, he knows nothing. Like the story they heard from Nojiko, even though she only gave him part of it, Luffy is the only one that knows none of that in the manga. He knows none of it. And so him knowing part of it takes a little bit away from the moment for me. And she asks him for help. And then they go and see the village. Then they go and see the villagers. The villagers are like, we're going to fight. Luffy's like, no, it's our fight. And then the villagers don't go because these kids are going with Nami. It just doesn't work as well. And I feel like they had all the components. All they had to do was make them run off. And then Nami asked for help. I don't understand the choice. It was the one choice that bothered me. I felt like it lessened that moment, the help me moment, because her desperation, I don't know, it just didn't work. That sequence of changing the sequence of events didn't work as well for me. Having said all that, that's my biggest complaint about the whole season, and I still think it's done well. I still love the moment. I love their acting in the moment when he says, gives her the hat and her facial expressions and the "of course I will." I love all of that. I just didn't understand the sequence change. It didn't work as well as it should have for me because of the sequence change, and I don't know what that gained them. Because all the moments are still there. The villagers are still like, we're going to go fight. Of course I will. Well, like the only thing you're missing is then you just have to have one other scene where they stop they get in front of the villagers and actually fight the Arlong pirates instead. But you could have easily done that without the burning of the village scene. I don't know. It's very weird for me in terms of the way the sequence went. Having said all that, and I just spent 10 minutes complaining about that one scene. Not quite that long, but I still enjoyed the heck out of the episode, episode 7. It was still really well done. It's set up well, and yeah. And it works on a whole lot of levels that, I still think it would be better if they knew, at least if Nojiko knew, but it works. I wouldn't have made that choice, but it works. Just not quite as well as I think it would have if they'd have told that story closer to how it actually how it happened in the manga. Because I don't feel like it adds scenes. See, a lot of the things they altered were to trim the fat. This is all there. It's just rearranged, and I don't think the rearrangement works quite as well. That's my personal opinion. Still works. It's still a great scene. She does a fantastic job. The kid playing Luffy does a fantastic job. I love that the poses, even though they're in this weird spot in the Tangerine Grove, that Sanji and Zoro and Usopp's poses are all the same. The other thing we finally get in this episode is we get Zoro and Sanji bickering for the first time. And that was really well done. I will say Zoro comes off a little bit because of the sequence of what happens here. He comes off as a little bit of the dummy, and Sanji comes off a little smarter because of just what's going on with Nami here. But their bickering is well done. So anything else from episode 7? I think that's all the major stuff. I think that's everything that I really wanted to talk about here. Episode 8, the big finale. So we get the fight with the Fishmen. And then we get all the wrap up of Coco Village. I don't know why they changed it to Coco instead of Kokoyashi. But sure, whatever. They just shortened it. The Fishman fight. 1. Usopp and Chu. This is one of the drawbacks of being so much fewer episodes, is we haven't really seen a demonstration that Usopp is a coward before this. That Usopp talks big, and I mean, we got it a little bit, but like he kind of stands up to Kuro, right? Like, so the whole Usopp running away thing, and then Usopp turning and fighting him, and didn't quite carry the weight that it should have, because it's a huge moment for Usopp in the manga, in terms of, because we've seen he's been such a chicken, such a coward up to that point. Him finally standing and fighting is a huge moment, and he wins. And I think it's done really well. It's just, it suffers slightly from the pacing, the tightness of the season, but it still works really well. It's a great moment with Usopp. Zoro and Sanji fighting all the Fishmen for Luffy. Fantastic, especially with Zoro being injured. The two of them like doing so, it's a great moment. So Luffy and Nami can get to Arlong. That's really well done. The only thing that disappoints me here is no Hachin. So they both end up fighting Karabi, and then Sanji just suddenly powers up the beat. Like, I feel like they should have each had their own guy. I know they probably removed Hachin for a reason, mainly because he's an octopus man and he has 6 arms plus 2 legs, so he's got 8 limbs, and it was tough enough to make the Fishmen look as good as they did, which wasn't huge on the design. Fishmen, they did what they could given the budget of the show, but yeah, their design is a little weak. So it takes away a little bit of that for both of them. But I feel like they have depowered everyone. Like Sanji, Zoro, Luffy all got depowered in this compared to what they are at this stage in the original story. And I think it's okay. I think it's really okay that they're a little bit depowered. But it still works. The moment is still fine. But the fact that they're working together takes a little bit away from it, but not a ton. Luffy versus Arlong. I think it's extremely well done. They do it a little bit out of order, but I think it's very well done, that whole fight. Arlong's truly a threat. Luffy is struggling, although I love when he breaks the sword or the saw. He breaks the saw. I do wish he'd maybe like destroyed some of the maps like he does in the thing, like a little bit. The setup of the map room is a little odd. Like, it's way at the top, yet it's causing the whole building. I don't know. It was just a little odd the way they do that, the way they set up the map room. But overall, I thought that whole sequence, I thought Nami, like him and Nami going in there and him seeing her change, that he didn't, but he did get to see like the blood on the pen or the blood on the maps like he does in the manga. But like that whole sequence is really, that whole fight is really well done. And yeah, Gum Gum Battle Axe and bringing the whole place down. And I love, before that, when Nami runs out of there while Luffy's still fighting him, and she sees that they've won, and I love it. Sanji's like, Nami, she barely knows him at this point. Like, she didn't even know he was going to be a part of the crew. She doesn't know him at all. And she runs and hugs Zoro and Usopp, who she has a relationship. It's perfect, and it makes sense. And it's just in Sanji's face, when the simp that he is, even just like, I love that. Was really well done. But then the fall of Arlong Park and Luffy standing there. I will say, this is one of the things where the translation doesn't carry the weight, I think, that the original Japanese does. In the show, they use the word nakama all the time. And it's kind of a substitute for friends, crew, comrades, everything. It basically sort of comes to mean family, like as you go through the story. Like nakama is Luffy's nakama is a super important word, but it means more than just friend. So when he stands up and he goes, we are friends and stuff, it just, for me, the English has never carried as much weight as what the word nakama does in that. And I don't know, that's just a weird translation. It's a quirk of the translation because nakama doesn't strictly it's more than one of those things. It's a combination of those words. And so that's just a thing for me. But I love the fall of the Arlong Park, him standing on the rubble, all of it. Amazing, super well done. We get the aftermath celebration in Cocoa Village. Super well done. I love not Sanji trying to hit on Nojiko because he's shameless and he will hit on anything that moves. Not that Nojiko is very, very attractive, but it's just funny because it's Sanji. I love that they left that. But they toned it down as much as they did, but it's still there, and I think it's super important that it's still there. But I love this level of Sanji being a simp way more than what we get in the over the top in the manga. So that's the thing I love more than the manga or the anime is Sanji. Then we get the confrontation with Garp, and I wasn't sure how I would feel about this because we actually it's basically a souped up version of what we get at Enies Lobby. But in Enies Lobby, Garp's basically just accepted this is what Luffy is. Of course, it's much further along. Kobe and Helmeppo basically disobeying is fine. It's just in Garp and Luffy's little scuffle. I love that we get to see just how strong Garp actually still is. Like, he's not even really trying. He has no issues with Luffy, which is the way it should be. It actually works pretty well for me. I don't know that we needed this much Garp, but Garp kind of sending him on his way. Like, okay, go live your life. It's your life. I'm going to shut up about you being a Marine. I'm going to shut up about your choices. Just know you're now on your own. He's like, you've made this choice. I'm going to accept it and let you go. But you're on your own. I can't help you now. And after this. And I think that works really, really well. And I love Luffy's response to you're on your own. He's like, no, I'm not. I have my friends. And which is a huge theme of the whole show in the series. And like, because that's the one thing we miss. The one line that we miss in Arlong Park, which is one of my favorite lines, which is the I can't do anything on my own. It's what I need them for. I can't navigate. I can't sword fight. I can't cook. I can't tell lies. But you can't do any of those things. And he's like, then what are you good for? You're just a worthless captain. He's like, I can beat you. And like I can defeat you. That's what I'm here to protect them. And like I love that line from the manga. We don't get it here, but we get a different but just as effective in my standpoint in his response to Garp is that you're all alone now. And he's like, no, I'm not alone. I have my friends, and like together we can do this. And we've gotten that a little bit earlier because we get the scene where he tells Zoro when Zoro's unconscious, and he's like, "I need you. I can't do this without you." And like so, we got that earlier there, and that was in the 6, or was that the start of 7? I forget. We get that scene where he's like, I think it's in the 6. So I think that's super effective. I love that we get the bounty scenes with which I'm a little surprised that Nezumi didn't get like Garp didn't haul him in because it was clear he was lying and like Garp didn't bust him, that he was still able to give Luffy the bounty. But somebody has to give him the bounty. It has to work that way. But I love the that they flash to the people. That's one of my favorite things in the manga is when they get new bounties and they flash all around to all their friends and family. And so that was super great. Really enjoyed, obviously, getting the Shanks Mihawk scene. The Shanks actor and the Ben Beckman actor, those are maybe my two that I think are the two worst castings in the show. Neither one of them carry the gravitas of those two characters, the gravity, the weight. Like, they might be fine actors, but they don't carry the weight that anytime those guys are on the page or in a scene, like, the whole world is like, whoa, these guys. And like, these actors just don't do that for me. Is anybody still out there? It's like I got one. So I've lost everybody. I lost a sub from this afternoon. I was like, oh, I'm only 13 away from 4,000. Now I think I'm like, let's see, earlier. Now I'm 14 away. Yeah. So still trying to get to 4,000. I'm super close. But the one addition. So I complained. So now we're gonna, like earlier. This is back to episode 7 a little bit. The one addition. So I complained about the change they made to the sequence around Help Me. It still works. It's still really good. It's just not quite as emotional as if they'd stuck to the sequence. But so I didn't particularly like the way they changed that necessarily. They also made an addition to episode 7, which was the conversation between Zeph and Garp. I love that. I thought that was great. I love basically two dads of these characters, like, basically help raise these kids, having a different point of view, and Zeph being like, you got to let them go. You got to let them make their own choices. There's only so much you can do. You did what you could. You got to let them go. And I thought that was really well done. I like Kobe and Helmeppo at the bar. All of that worked for me really well. So that was an amazing addition. That was one of those things they added that I loved. So then obviously we get the barrel scene as they're escaping, as they're leaving Cocoa Village, which is early. We don't actually get that until after Logtown. We got Buggy and Alvida teaming up. Also really great. Buggy was a standout too. Buggy was maybe my favorite casting, actually, and at least of the non-Straw Hats, I will say. Although Garp is really good too. And we get the little teaser of Smoker at the end. So overall, I'm going to give my thoughts now overall in the season, and then a little bit of once for season 2. Overall, I've pretty much given every episode like a 7 to an 8.5. I don't think I've given a single episode a 9. I honestly think, like, if they hadn't screwed with the sequencing in episode 7, I think that might have been a 10. If it, like, they just, that execution at the end brought it down for me to like an 8.5. The finale was good, but not great. I think overall I'm going to give the series like between the 7.75, 7.5 to 8 is kind of where I've been on a lot of these. I really, really like it, but I don't think it's great. Like, it's not amazing. It's not. I hope they do more. I think it's doing well enough worldwide, and it seems to be getting enough support that they'll do more. But yeah, I would say for the season, so that'd be like a 7.5 is like 3.5 or 3 3/4 stars. We'll give it a 4. We'll give it a solid 8. We'll give it 4 stars, an 8 out of 10 for the whole season. It's really well done. I think they make a lot of great choices. They cover a lot of ground. And after the first 2 episodes, I don't feel like the pacing, they're covering a lot of ground, but I didn't feel like it felt rushed despite that. I thought the first 2 episodes felt rushed like all the stuff they tried to get through in those first 2 episodes. I felt like that felt rushed. With the cuts they made, the way they made cuts and that kind of stuff, I did not like 3 and 4. They took their time with Syrup Village. I thought that worked really well. 5 and 6, the Brate stuff by cutting Krieg, I thought the pacing there worked well, and I thought the pacing on 7 and 8 does. It absolutely does, Bob. Bob's your uncle. It absolutely does, because I love this series. So I'm very curious. I got some friends that are gonna watch this that have no background. And I'm very curious to see what they think. So, like, I love the series. I love the characters. And it wasn't bad, so I really liked it. Like, I feel like it would, for me not to have liked it, would have had to be bad. And it definitely wasn't bad, I don't think. It was not like, I mean, I've seen some manga, anime, live action translations. Some of them are bad. They're just not good. This, I think, is good. And I don't think it quite makes great, although an 8 out of 10 maybe it probably should be considered great, but I don't think it quite makes great. I mean, an 8 out of 10, an 80 out of 100, that's a B. Low B, B minus. I mean, that's really what you're talking there, right? And I think that's accurate for what this is. It's really good. It's not great. It's not, mind altering. But I am curious what others do. I think I think my love for the series influenced me both. It puts a floor on my opinion because it's not terrible. It puts a floor on how much I like it, but it also, I think, puts a little bit of a cap on how much I love it because it's not a perfect translation, right? Like, I love the original, and this is a really good translation, but it's not a perfect translation, as I spent like 5, 6, 7 minutes complaining about the sequencing of Help Me. And so I do think it definitely clouds my opinion. I think it puts some boundaries on my opinion a little bit. So, okay, no background. You're up to episode 6 only. Dang it, I've been giving you a ton of spoilers here. So what do you think through episode 6? I'm very curious. What do you think? Are you enjoying it? Do you what would you grade it? I'm curious. Yeah. Because I've given you, I feel kind of bad that I've given you spoilers for Help Me because it's such a great moment. And it's really still a great moment in the show. It's just not quite, literally every time I read or watch it, still to this day, even though I've read it and watched it 100 times, the eyes get watery and just do the way it's in the thing. They didn't really do that in the show, although I still really enjoyed the moment. So I'm just curious. I would be curious to see where you're grading it through the first 6 episodes. What do you think of this world? Because through 6 now, you've seen some of the crazy characters. You've seen, you've gotten a glimpse of the Fishman. You've gotten, Mihawk. Okay. So I think the kid playing Luffy, that was my biggest, I'll be honest, Luffy was my biggest, I love Luffy as a character. Luffy was my biggest concern in making a live action show because he's an idiot and a goofball and idealistic, and he could come off, my fear was he was going to come off more annoying than endearing. And to translate what he is so hard. And I think this kid does a fantastic job. Because it's not easy being sort of an idiot and being kind of goofy and sort of ridiculous, which he is, and still having that serious steel behind it when it comes to protecting his friends, looking out for the people he cares about, protecting people that he thinks need to be protected. It's a hard balance, and I think the kid walks it super well. And I think the kid playing Zoro carries the weight that is Zoro super well. The kid playing Usopp is perfect because Usopp is all similar. It's a similar kind of thing to Luffy, but a little different. But yeah, Usopp's really good. I thought the kid playing Sanji had way less to do, but I thought he was great. And I thought Emily Rudd did it's the only like regular name, so I thought she was fantastic as Nami, and I do think the moment Help Me still works because of her and because of him. I don't think like moving it in the sequence hurts it, but their performances keeps it from ruining it for me in a lot of ways. Like their performances are so good in the moment that I still love it. And her at the end of Arlong Park, her reaction and fear and worry about Luffy, like, yeah, that it's all really, really well done. Nice. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you enjoy it, I would obviously suggest reading it or watching the anime if you're not a big manga reader. I will say Viz, in celebration of the live action, like Viz's website or their app, you can read the first 108 chapters of the 1,091 chapters in One Piece are currently on their website for free. The way Viz does it is if you're caught up, you can read the most recent 3 chapters for free all the time. But beyond that, you got to pay. But it's only $1.99 a month. Like if you want to read, obviously you can find it online free. Some of those websites are not a little sketch. Like you got to be careful, but like you can find One Piece online and read it for free. You can read translations for free. That's how I used to read it forever before Viz started putting it out week of. So now, obviously, I've bought all the Viz things because I want to support the official release. I've got all the books, but you can read it online. Right now, you can read on the official website, the official translation, you can read online for free, the first 108 chapters. You can read, so if you go to Viz or Weekly Shonen Jump, which is what it's published in Japan, but here it's in the English, it's on Viz, V-I-Z. So obviously, I would recommend reading it. If you're digging the show, I would recommend diving in because it's a little slow, like you said, but it hooked me early, and I'd be curious to see what you think. But overall, I think the show is really good. Like I said, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I'm so glad that I'm so happy that it translated as well as it did. So season 2, what do I want? What do I want going forward? I'm a little curious. I really assumed season 1 was going to be all of East Blue. And realistically, with one more episode, they could have done all of East Blue. I'm a little surprised. I get why they did. Arlong is the big bad of East Blue. And they did the Garp stuff earlier. And I get that. Why they brought Garp in. When you read East Blue, like you don't see Garp at all during like the East Blue stuff. Garp comes in way later to the story. Like you get glimpses of him, but you don't know who he is. And like he comes in way later, where he becomes a bigger part of the story. So the guy you see at the spoilers, there's a little bit, not really after credit, but sort of after credit or right before the credit extra scene, and you see another Marine with Luffy's winner poster, and that is Smoker, who's kind of a Marine antagonist for a while, that pops up in Logtown, which is where it's the town at the beginning and the end. It's the last town before you would get to the Grand Line in the East Blue. It's where Gold Roger was from. It's where he was executed. So they go to Logtown before they go to the Grand Line. So that's where they meet Smoker. Like with that having to take up an episode of season 2, I don't know how they get all the way through Alabasta in season 2 with 8 episodes, because that's a lot of ground to cover. Like, that's more ground to cover than what they've covered, because they're going to have to really shorten their time in Alabasta, or they're going to have to do Lordstown to Alabaster, basically, which seems like, and then split it and do season 3. That doesn't seem like the best fit. But, I mean, you could do Logtown. Then you got an episode going into the Grand Line. In that episode, you could probably meet Vivi. Then you've got, I mean, you got to cut Little Garden. You just do. Although the Giants would be important later, you just almost have to cut Little Garden. You can't cut Drum Island. That's where Chopper comes in. I'm super curious to see how they design Chopper to make him work. Because given the way the Fishmen looked, I don't know how they make Chopper work. I don't know how. That's going to be super curious to see what they do with Chopper. Because you could just maybe, I mean, it's got to be completely almost CGI. I don't know how you do it. And that's a big budget thing to make him look good. I mean, you could try to cast a little kid, but then the little kid's going to grow up during the seasons. Like, he's not going to stay little. So I don't know how you do Chopper. That'll be super curious. Miss All Sunday, Crocodile, obviously. Yeah, Bon Clay. I assume we're going to get Bon Clay. You got to get Bon Clay. So there's a lot of characters I'm super hyped to see in season 2. I hope we get it. I'm super happy with season 1. And yeah, but mostly Laboon. We get Laboon. That should be cool. That should be fun. Laboon and Crocus. Yeah. So yeah, there's 2 episodes. It's almost episode 3 before you're going to meet Vivi. I guess you could probably meet her in episode 2. And then you got to get to Alabaster, and there's a lot of ground to cover to get there. I mean, you could do, if you skip Little Garden, you could do Drum Island, like 3 and 4. So yeah, I guess Logtown to the Twin Capes. And then you do episode 2 is meeting Vivi and then getting basically hooked into helping Vivi. 3 and 4 would be Drum Island and Chopper. And then 5 through 8 would all have to be Alabaster, because there's a ton of stuff that happens in Alabaster. So yeah, be super interesting. I hope they get it. I'm glad that, like, it strikes the right tone for somebody who's coming in new, because I didn't know if it's hard for me because I know everything that's going to happen for the most part. I mean, there was stuff that was new. There was definitely some new stuff that they did to kind of fill the gaps that they had to cut out. But would it work? And I'm glad to hear that it worked for you. So that's awesome. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I've been 45 minutes. I didn't think there's any way I would talk about these final 2 episodes. I've talked about this, but let's be real. I loved it. I'm so glad they did it. I'm so glad it worked to the level it did. I have a few nitpicks, but overall, 2 thumbs up from JP on One Piece. And yeah. And if you're enjoying this, I highly recommend diving into reading. I'm more of a manga reader than an anime watcher, although the anime. So I will say, here's the nice thing about this. I'm gonna go off. Well, I'm watching Ahsoka, although I'm just doing those on my weekly whatever report. I don't know what I need to finish. Only Murders in the Building. I'm on season 2 of that. I need to get back to that. I don't know what's coming after that. At some point, I keep saying I'm going to watch Stranger Things. I've never watched it. I need to get to it. I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? I was talking about the anime. Like, I love the anime, and I love the manga. But I will say, they have pacing issues at times. They drag at times, especially in the bigger, since the time skip in the last 500-600 issues of the anime or the manga. there's pacing issues. Oda drags things out at times. So I will say that's the one nice thing about this show. This first season, they slammed a whole bunch into these 8 episodes. But as you talked about earlier, they did it in a way that didn't make it feel super rushed. And like people's in general, the biggest complaint about Oda is pacing sometimes. And this show had none of those pacing issues. It did feel a little rushed for me early, but for the most part, I think the pacing was really, really good. So, all right, with that, I am actually going to get out of here. I want to thank Bob for hanging out with me. GTK was in here for a while. Kenneth was in here for a while. I don't know who else is hanging out, but thank you for watching. And with that, we're going to get out of here. Later, everybody. When I find the outro. Where's the outro? There you go.